Hello, good day there. I'm so live to have you join us on AFCON Update on Trust TV. I am Kabir Lawal, and of course, as you know, this is the program that brings you the pros and cons on what is happening at the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations taking place right now in Morocco. We can't go on the program without giving accolade to the sponsors of the program, and the program continues immediately after these commercials. And of course, you're welcome back to the show this very lovely hour where we are going to be showing you the pros and cons and of course giving you the in-depth analysis on what is happening so far in the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations, which is taking place in Morocco. And we are going to start with a pre-match preview of what happened between Nigerian Super Eagles and also Tyson on Tanzania. Yesterday it was actually 2-1 and Nigeria also did it well, but some sport-loving fans are saying it should have been very big goal margin. Talking about the Super Eagles players that are, participating in this year's 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations. And also we have, it actually ended 2-1 in favor of Nigeria. The match was very intense. We saw the likes of their goalkeeper, Fabo, who actually saved so many goals yesterday. It will have been more than 4 to 5 goals, but Fabo used his expertise of goalkeeping, very pundit goal stopper. When you talk about AFCON this very season, is one of these goalkeepers that have been making waves. And of course, if this continues, if he keep this clean slate, he is going to, however, move further, and that's why AFCON has actually come place. Well, let's take a dive and see some of the goal scorers of yesterday. Of course, we have the result. We have Tanzania lost to Nigeria 2-1. It was actually a very nice goal. Well, it was 3 goals actually, if you did watch the match, but that of Osimhen was actually considered as offside. Even the VAR said it was offside and Nigeria had nothing to do, and it was actually disconnected, and the match ended 2-1. Talking about Tunisia, Tunisia scored a goal 3-1 against Uganda. Uganda could not pull so much streams on this very tournament, and they fell into the hand of Tanzania 3-1, which is actually what is going on right now in the Group C result. Now going down to Group D, where we have Democratic Republic of Congo defeating Benin Republic 1-0. Well, according to sources, Democratic Republic of Congo, were supposed to win this match more than this, but the Benin Republic actually saying, this is not your time. We have actually grown. And it's like in AFCON competition to burst your bubbles, there's nothing like small nation in the 35th edition. All the countries are down to make their country proud. And of course, talking about Senegal, when Senegal played 3-0 to Botswana, it was actually very interesting match. Well, going by their statistics, you know that Senegal actually have star-studded player against the Botswana, but the Botswana also pulled some trims, but the trims was not good enough, and it all ended there like that. Well, going back to what Nigeria and Tanzania played yesterday, we have Seri Ajayi, who is also the man of the match. He has actually written his name in the golden pen. The first match, that Nigeria netted the goal, he was actually awarded after Alex Iwobi actually took a very flank assist and he nodded it down to Foba. Foba this time around could not pull some trims, and it was 1-0. Talking about Ademola Lookman, immediately after the coming back of the second half, the Tyson on Tanzania equalized 1-1, and at the 52nd second, Ademola Lookman also picked a very fine shot from outside the net, from outside the 18-yard box, and it landed straight behind Foba, who has stopped so many goals in this very competition. Now, away from that now, let's come back to the matches that are going to be happening today. We had that of Burkina Faso and also Equatorial Guinea, and it was actually a very nice one. Burkina Faso actually did the needful, and it was very interesting. And also talking about Algeria match is ongoing right now. Before coming down to the studios, the scoreline was 1-0. Well, as this program is progressing, we are going to bring you the names of the players and also the time these goals were scored. We can do 2 things at a time. That's why we have to take it one after one. And that match between Algeria and Sudan is actually ongoing. Now, talking about the match between Ivory Coast and Mozambique is going to start just like the way Nigeria started their own match yesterday. But the Ivory Coast and Mozambique, sport-loving fans are saying this time around, Ivory Coast has some star-studded player, and they are thinking of what Mozambique is going to do. But I'm telling you, in the 35th edition of AFCON, you can't actually say we have small team. We have other teams that are just coming there, but now they are pulling some teams, which will go a long way to tell you that AFCON is actually progressing. Now, talking to the big game of today, which is between Cameroon and Gabon, we have some star-studded player in Cameroon, and talking about it, where we have the likes of Mboma. Mboma is right there to pull through for them, and also where we have Mboma is actually doing very good, and he has this expertise of carrying other players around. He has been doing it back to back and back, and this time around talking about AFCON 35th edition, which is taking place right now in Morocco. Mbamo is actually pulling teams and is making is lauding for his team. We also have Kale Etayong, who is also, a Cameroonian and is doing a very, very nice job. Kale Etayong, the goalkeeper, is one of the best top shoppers so far you can think about in 35th African Cup. Well, we are going to see most of what he's going to do today. And to bust your bubbles, it's like the 35th edition of African Cup of Nations is bringing out the crop up of, new top shoppers. Talking about Foba that kept for Tanzania yesterday. You saw what he did. Talking about the first opener of the match, about Morocco and Comoros, which we have that 24-year-old man that was actually stopping the whole shot that actually made Comoros concede let's go in the hand of top shopper. And also we have the likes of other players from this man. He's going to do his country proud, and he has been doing it back to back and back. Now let's dive in to see some of how the predicted lineup, or let's start from the head-to-head first and see what is going to happen. The match between Ivory Coast, Mozambique, and also Cameroon and Gabon, and see how it is going to be like. Well, for the draws now, you can see the back-to-back there. We have for the Ivory Coast actually leading, but Mozambique also just one. You can see World Cup qualifiers CAF, and also World Cup qualifiers in CAF. And this time around, it was 0-0. Well, what enticed me most in the 35th edition of this African Cup of Nations is when we see statistics like this. Actually, when Super Eagles locked on with Tanzania, we saw what happened. Going by the head-to-head, Nigeria was supposed to even tongue-lash, the Tanzanians, but no, the reverse was the case because Tanzania were not there to watch. So in these circumstances, we know the Ivory Coast are actually leading, but then they have to pay for their money because no team has actually come to what they're. Now, let's take a look at how the Cameroonian and Gabon. You can see just few wins, and you can imagine what will happen in this very, very competition. When we have when they played African Cup of Nations A1, it was 0-0, 0-0. You understand, between Cameroon and Gabon. And Cameroonian again, they had to narrowly win Gabon 2-1. That was even in friendlies. Well, now is another time for them to play. It's been a while. They've kicked the ball together. Who knows what's going to happen when we have the likes of Mbamo and also Aubameyang, and to mention but a few that are going to lock horns with each other today and tell us more on what is going to happen of AFCON. Well, let's take a look at the predicted line where we have, yes, we have Mbamo. Mbamo is actually playing 10. Mbamo is a very, very good player that has used his world of experience to carry other players among. We also have Negada, who is going to support Mbamo this time around. We have Mvam, who is number 15. We also have Wua. We have Mpasi. Mpasi is a very good player, looking at what he has been doing in Premiership, and he has said he's going to do more than that because this is a clarion call where he's going to show his worth in the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations. We also have Bayamo. Bayamo is also down, and you can see the position is playing. We have the likes of Balaba, we have Tolo, we have Kudo, we have Ebemba, we have Kofeni, and also we have Ebembi. These are the possible predictions of lineup that is going to be like this. Well, if the lineup is going to be like this for the Cameroonian, I tell you, the Cameroonian are ready to break the jinx they have been breaking before when you talk about African Cup of Nations. Now, going into predicted grinds of these other clubs, talking about Gabon, where we have the star player there, Aubameyang. Aubameyang is right there, our number 9. What do you expect? This is time for them to show their worth, and they are willingly ready to to do same for Cameroon this time around. We also have back home. Back home is a very, very good player. Where we have the likes of Lamina is also a very good player that, you know, he can give some assists. And also when it comes to the left and right side of the flank, you know, he will do it back to back and back, looking at what he has done in his previous time. Looking at the supporting one there, talking about Mbamba, and also we have Manga, we have Ndong, we have Elevia, and also we have Oyono. Talking about Bwanga and also Nkepe. Well, calling all these names, you know, we are truly African, and I tell you, the match between Cameroon and Gabon is going to be very, very quite interesting. Now, let's take a dive to see some of, the other predicted lineup of how it's going to be like, where we have Conan, we have Sangari, we have Demembe, and also we have Gausan, we have Kone, we have Nduko, we have Fofana. Agbado also, who was there in the last AFCON, actually came back with his wealth of experience, and you know what that means. They are going to pay for the money if they're with this club, with this star-studded player who are going to start the club right now. We also have Ahmad, we have Fofana, and we have Kono. Looking at the other side, where we have Kaptamo, we have Kalila, we have Guna. He's one of the star players that they are looking up to, and he's going to do the least for this time around to save his club, especially at the 35th edition of African Cup of Nations taking place in Morocco. We have Eman, we have Megza, we also have Relinga, we have Langa, we have Amodo, we have Willie, and also we have Rolio and Kadamo. This is how the preferred likes are going to look like, and I tell you, it's going to be a star-studded team for the both teams. Now, let's take a dive to see some of the facts about Burkina Faso and Equatorial Guinea, or one of these clubs, so that we are going to dive in and tell you more about how it is going to be like in the 35th edition of African Cup of Nations. Yes, let's dive in back to see what has happened so far in their head-to-head and take it back to back and crack and see maybe what happened to Super Eagles in the last match, talking about the Tizam of Tanzania. Will not happen this time around to these two clubs, especially when you talk about the biggest game this night is going to be Cameroon, and also we have Gabon. Well, head-to-head, you can see what has happened head-to-head to them, but they will still need more. There's more to be done when you talk about you talk about all that. We have a failed to score back-to-back in matches for the first time in the qualifying circles at a 4-3 away. About from that, well, you can see the Cameroonians are actually going to pay for the money. They've actually failed to score in back-to-back matches for the first time in the qualifying circle. Well, this to tell you that everybody, it's like all the teams that actually qualified for this year's 35th edition of African Cup of Nations, actually the playoff was very, very shaky, and you can see what actually happened. You can see, I remember what happened to the Super Eagles when they lost the bid to qualify for the World Cup. That's why the sport-loving fans of, die-hard fans of Nigerian Super Eagles are actually saying, well, this could be the time for Nigeria, because that is the only thing that can wipe away their chairs. Yeah, talking about players to be noticed on this, players to be watched out for in Cameroon and Gabon. When we have Bramo Mbamo, can we have Mbamo? Mbamo is a new star player in Cameroon, and is promised to take this team to very, very greater heights. We also have the Eta Eyong. Eta Eyong is another Cameroon player, a star-studded one there with a experience that they said they are going to move Cameroon to the very, very greater height. Well, going back to memory lane, if you see what the Cameroonians have done so far in the world of AFCON, you know that Cameroons actually deserve any accolade or all the flowers that will actually come to them. Well, talking about these predicted lineup and looking at what will happen, just like what happened in Super Eagles match when we have the star-studded, you know, the 4-3-3 team actually worked out to some point, but this time around it didn't work out. Who knows what's going to happen, because we know what Conan can do. Of course, Conan has been there and he has been doing a very fantastic job. Looking at Sangari actually can go with Kalila, because this is not the first time they are meeting, but at least, you know, players improve every day. And if you were stopping me before, you may not stop me, because this is 35th edition, and of course, AFCON is actually moving. Well, Just in case you're joining us, the program is African Update on Trust TV, sponsored by November Groups. And don't forget, this program will be hitting the airways every 5 p.m. or to the 18th of January, where we are going to be rounding off the 2025 edition of the African Cup of Nations. Well, to enlighten you more, yesterday, anytime Nigeria is playing match, you have the opportunity, because the phone lines will be open, and you have the opportunity of winning a free launch ticket, by the sponsorer of this very show, and you could be the lucky winner. Anytime the Super Eagles are playing their competition or their match in this AFCON 2025, all you have to do is to keep a log to your TV set and dial the number and predict the number correctly, and you see what will happen. And I tell you, surprise will be the name. A very big thank you for the world. Well, now going on to other scores now, where we have Algeria actually going on right now. We have Algeria scoring at the 56 for 45 seconds. Algeria 1 and Sudan 0. Well, you can see Merez actually scored the goal in the second minute of that game. Looking at the head-to-head stats, well, head-to-head stat does not work this time around, because the match is ongoing. Right now, Algeria are actually defeating Sudan. Well, so many dramas happen between these two countries. Looking at them and their trajectory so far now, you know that Algeria more star-studded players than the Sudan. When it comes to football, Sudan, people will say Sudan are not that strong, but this time around in the 35th edition of the AFCON, it is actually very, very, very. So take a look at what happened. Okay, now let's take a highlight of what happened at yesterday's match in Well. Well, let's take a live now to see some of what happened in Nigeria, where we have the life of Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey actually played a very, very nice game yesterday, having hit at the 77 passes according to statistics, and he has been doing it back to back and back. Calvin Bassey is one defender that has been doing it, coming from Fulham, and is bringing down that experience down to Super Eagles, and you can see his maturity, his composure, his passes. He even scored he was one that gave the pass, that led to the goal being scored in the first time, and a very, very big accolade to him. Well, talking about Ademola Lookman was supposed to score more than a goal yesterday, and what actually happened, the formation that the Super Eagles used was actually very, very brilliant, but it was not brilliant enough. According to some sport-loving fans, they were blaming Eric Chell, that why did he start with Alex Iwobi? Well, Alex Iwobi actually tried the best. As you can see, he was even the one that crossed the ball that gave the Super Eagles the first goal, even if Mwamba of Tanzania came to equalize the goal at the 51st minute of the second half of that game. Well, a very good one there to Calvin Bassey on that. Now, going now to Ademola Lookman and looking at what he has done so far. Ademola Lookman has done a very, very good job looking at what he has been doing in his club and looking at the trajectory at which he played yesterday. And also the likes of Chukwueze, Ademola Lookman, and to mention but a few, are actually very, very interesting. Talking about Zaidu, Zaidu actually tried, but his best was not good enough. He was actually off the game yesterday, and it actually gave, the Tanzanian that opening mind to kind of penetrate into the Eagles' defense. But the 2-1 was not too bad for Eagles, even if Nigerian fans were expecting the Eagles to score 3 or more than 4 goals in that edition. Well, still talking AFCON sport update, let's take a dive to see the result of the matches that actually happened yesterday. And let's take a quick look at them, because Nigeria will actually be playing their next match with Tunisia. And in Group C, as you can know, Group C is actually star-studded, where we have the likes of Tunisia, and the match against Tunisia is not going to be easy for Nigerians, especially, you know what happened even in US 94 when they met in that clash. Well, taking a look at what happened, 2-1 to Tanzania from Nigeria, and also Tunisia. Talking about Tunisia now, Tunisia were actually saying they wanted underrating Uganda, but the reverse was the case, because Tunisia actually showed their best. They have one of the best players. Looking at the trajectory and looking at their ranking in Africa, you will know Tunisia actually deserved the match, and the match was 3 goals against 1 to Uganda. Now to DR Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, that actually, stopped the bid for the Super Eagles to qualify for the World Cup. Actually did it again against the Benin. Benin are actually very, very good players, and that actually did their best, but their best was not good enough. and the game ended 1-0, in favor of Democratic Republic of Congo. And also talking about Senegal, Senegal has also, always been at the top of the game when you talk about AFCON, and in 35th African edition is not far different from what they have been doing. They defeated Botswana 3-0, which actually saw Botswana down. And if you look at the table, they're actually down the table. Now let's take a dive to see the table of Group C and D of the Super Eagles, so that we know that Super Eagles already have they have 3 points and 1 goal difference, but Tunisia are actually leading, and which means because Tunisia have 3-1, they have more points and goals than Nigeria, which has actually put Tunisia ahead of Nigeria in this very season. Well, now let's come back to the lineup, predicted lineup of talking about the Algeria and Sudan. Now it is 2-0. Yes, this is the 61st minute of the game, and Algeria have done it again. They've actually scored, added 1 goal to what they've scored before. Merez has actually scored twice now. Looking at what Merez has done in the last time AFCON, he's doing it in this present AFCON. He scored very early, immediately after the first half, and now second half at the 62nd minute, Merez has done it again and netting the goal, 2-0 against Sudan. Well, when you check the head-to-head of Sudan and Algeria, you know what we're talking about. The Algeria squad actually surpassed that of Sudan, and right now Sudan are actually bearing the brunt. Imagine what will happen if we get to the 90 minutes of that play and the match. If the goal tally increases, well, I tell you, it's going to be a very good one. And looking at go Algeria to Sudan, Riyad Mahrez, Algeria, left-footed shoot from the center of the box, which means the goalkeeper was tested, and this time around, most of the goals that will be scored in AFCON is from the outside 18-yard box. You can see what happened to Ademola Lookman yesterday when he actually struck the ball with the left leg and placed it down for Fabo, who has actually tried for the Tizam of Tanzania, but his best was not actually good enough for the wear. Let's take a dive and see some of the fixtures that will actually happen today, and know what is going to happen between Cameroon and Gabon. And also this match is ongoing, and Algeria are actually doing a very good thing. Algeria, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea is a bygone issue now. They're diving now straight into the round of 16. And also in the group stage we have Algeria and Sudan, which is ongoing. Algeria have 2 now, Sudan have 0. Well, for Ivory Coast and Mozambique, well, their head-to-head is a very slim victory, where we have Mozambique that have good players, but when you talk about Ivory Coast, they've done it back to back and back. And looking at their trajectory so far in AFCON trajectory, you give them their flowers because they have star-studded players that can, of course, pull some trim in this very tournament. We also have Cameroon and Gabon. Cameroon and Gabon, that is a star-studded match where we have the likes of Mbamo and also Aubameyang, who are going to do the needful for their team. Can they save their team this time around? We don't know. Well, let's take a dive and see if they will do that or not. Well, this is exactly where we are going to wrap up the show on this very hour. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at precisely 5 p.m. for the program AFCON Sport, as sponsored by November Cubes Group. Well, before I go, let me leave you with a message from the sponsors of the program.